Welcome to Legends and Laughs. I'm Emily Connor Cooper. Today's guest grew up with one of the greatest voices in music history, but she's definitely found her own. She's a jazz singer, actress, Berklee graduate, and the daughter of the legendary Tony Bennett. Please welcome the wonderful Antonia Bennett. I know a thing or two about show business. You could say it's in my blood. I was born and raised in Texas, made my way to New York City to study at NYU, and I landed a job as a producer with NBC, CBS, and even on Broadway. In addition, my life became a lot more interesting when I met Pat Cooper at the Friars Club. From the hustle and bustle of New York City to the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas, I've had the privilege of being surrounded by some of the funniest and most talented people in the world. And today you'll hear from people who knew Pat and who Pat knew, and in many ways you won't hear anywhere else. So sit back and relax and get ready to hear some stories that will make you laugh, cry, and maybe even scratch your head a little. This is Legends and Laughs, where the humor never stops and the legends never fade. Welcome to Legends and Laughs. I'm Emily Connor Cooper, and today we have a very special guest. She's a very established singer and songwriter, and she just happens to be the daughter of the one and only legendary Tony Bennett, Miss Antonia Bennett. Welcome to the show, dear, and thank you so much for coming out here for it.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to see you and meet you finally. So let's talk a little bit about your history and how you started. You actually went to Beverly Hills High School, right?
For a hot minute.
For a hot minute. And you started your career out there?
Early on, I started just, my dad would invite me up on stage when I was very young, 5 years old, 6 years old, and I'd come out and sing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and then eventually I graduated to the Hokey Pokey. And from there, I just, fell in love with performing, and I ended up going to Berklee College of Music, and that's when I really started to hone my craft.
That was in Boston, right?
Yes.
And then you started doing actually a lot of openings for your father, right? You started singing with him early on?
I did. I opened for him for a good 30 years almost.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then you began doing a lot of your own shows. So kind of give us an idea of how that transpired, because you started very young, right?
Yeah. I think, my parents did a really good job of exposing me to all the different art forms, not just music, but also writing and visual arts and dance. And so I really was surrounded by a lot of people that were also at the top of their craft, because I grew up in Beverly Hills and there were a lot of great people around. And then but the singing always was the thing that I just gravitated to the most. It always felt the most natural, and it was something that I did regardless of whatever else I was doing all the time. And as I started to practice and get better and meet more musicians that were my own age, I just naturally kind of grew into the artist that I am now. I've recorded lots of records and have had really amazing opportunities to work with some really incredible people, and I just love it. I love what I do.
When you were growing up in Beverly Hills, though, when you were younger, you mentioned characters, you must have been around some very interesting characters, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that time in Beverly Hills, there was Ella Fitzgerald was living there, Gene Kelly, Rosemary Clooney, Mel Torme, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. They were all around within walking distance of where I lived. I used to see Fred Astaire walking to the post office every day on my way to school. And I love to watch old movies, so I watched a lot of old movies, and I learned a lot just from watching them. And
I know people have asked you, I believe, what was it like growing up like that? But it was just normal to you,
It
right?
sure was. I didn't know any different, and there were a lot of other people who had similar situations around too, so it felt kind of normal.
And you moved to New York later,
I did.
right? How long did
After
you live
college.
in New York? After,
So in the 1990s, I moved to New York, and my dad was living there at the time, and I spent the first half of my adult life there, and I love living there because there was so much great talent. I got to go see a lot of shows and hear a lot of incredible musicians, and I still go every other month. I'm in New York, and I still go see shows and watch different artists perform and go to museums. But I did a lot of that with my dad too.
Because he lived there most of that time, right? Has he always lived in New York?
He was a New Yorker, and he loved being there. He was born in Queens, and I lived right around the corner from him in Manhattan, and we would do a lot of things together. We'd go to the museum, we'd go to cabaret shows, we'd go to see Broadway shows, and it was really a wonderful time.
I lived on the Upper West Side, actually. I lived in New York for 21 years. I would see him in the neighborhood. I would see him I think I told you there was one Christmas when my mother was visiting. We went to Feinstein's. He was there. And then a couple nights later, we went to Dizzy's at Jazz at Lincoln Center, and he was there. And the joke was that Tony was following us around town. But it was that was a really magical time, too. This is about 20 years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago. But he was a New Yorker. He was just in the neighborhood. He was in the park, right?
He was every day. And all the spots you mentioned were the places that he liked to go hang out.
My late husband, Pat, knew Tony from way back when they were very young. We have a lot of interesting photos of them.
Sweet.
When they were very young. I think we actually have a photo of them with Wayne Newton. I believe there's one with Tony Monty because they all were in Las Vegas.
Right.
Right? Because Pat lived actually in Las Vegas for 35 years, but he always had an apartment in New York, so he would be back and forth. But he always spoke very fondly of your father. And he always spoke very truthfully about, people. He always had great stories. In his book, I think he has some great stories. I wanted to talk about your record specifically, because you've done a few records and you're working on a new one now. So tell us about one. Didn't you release a album last year?
Yes, Expressions. That's a great record. I'm so happy with it. Christian Jacob produced it and did all of the arrangements on it. It's just a very intimate quartet record, and I couldn't have been happier. I mean, the arrangements are really beautiful. It's probably 50% originals and 50% standards, American Songbook. And I think it's a really nice snapshot of where I was at the time when I recorded that record.
So tell us a little bit about the one that's coming up, what you can tell us, because I know some of it's secret, which is,
Well, I can tell you that Grant Geisman and Lee Newman produced this record for me, and they really did an incredible job producing the tracks and getting really top-tier musicians to play on it. And there's some wonderful duets, Mickey Dolenz, Benny Benek, Van Dyke Perks, and Rufus Wainwright. So I'm just over the moon. Yeah, I'm over the moon with the caliber of people that are on that record.
Lee Newman is amazing. He's one of my very good friends who actually introduced me to you. I first saw you in 2019 when Pat and I went to see you and your father at the Encore.
That's so great.
Yeah, and it was really exciting that Pat got to see Tony. And that may have been your last Vegas performance, I believe, just before COVID, I think.
I don't remember, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, everything just came to a screeching halt when COVID hit.
There's a story I know about a girl long ago who was pretty and smart just like you. There were kings and queens and magical things and sweet dreams in dreamland come true.
Hello, I'm Antonia Bennett for the Italian American Club of Southern Nevada. Since 1961, the Italian American Club has celebrated the food, music, entertainment, and friendship that have made it a Las Vegas favorite for generations. Legendary entertainers including Frank Sinatra and my father, Tony Bennett, have been part of that remarkable tradition. And today it continues 5 nights a week with authentic Italian cuisine, live music, and world-class entertainment in the showroom. You don't need to be a member to enjoy it. The Italian American Club is open to the public, and of course, they're always happy to welcome new members. Come discover one of Las Vegas's true best-kept secrets, the Italian American Club of Southern Nevada. Come hungry and leave with a memory, maybe even a cannoli.
So you have played several jazz venues.
Absolutely.
You've done a lot. I went to your Instagram page, which is, of course, Antonia Bennett. There's a lot on there. You've really been doing an amazing circuit. So tell us about your history a little bit, because it's a lot.
Sure. Well, I think, a lot of people just think of me as my dad's daughter, but the whole time I've been doing jazz festivals on my own, headlining, and also different concert halls and jazz clubs. And I just did a run in June of some East Coast clubs. I did Iridium in New York City. I did Daryl's House in Pawling, New York. I went to Easton, Maryland. I did the Avalon Theater and the Regatta Bar in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And this is what I love to do. And I grew up singing in those small rooms. My dad would often play places like the Blue Note or
Sure.
Blues Alley in DC and things like that. And so it feels very comforting for me to be in rooms like that, because it was so much of my early experience was in rooms like that. And now I'm doing it with my own band. And, it's a little bittersweet.
I think your father died 6 weeks after Pat died. We have to embrace the future, right?
Absolutely.
And there was a quote that I saw that your father had said to you, which was, always look forward, never look back. And Pat used to say to me, Emily, don't go back to yesterday. And I think they meant the same thing, really, right? Right, we have to keep moving forward.
And I think it's important to be flexible and to understand that things are always changing. And the more that you can stay on top of that, the more successful you'll be, I think emotionally too, not just monetarily, but also emotionally, because you can fill your life with the present, with what's happening now, and be in the moment. And that's such a beautiful thing.
I love telling the stories, right, and finding photos. Yesterday, someone posted a photo I had been looking for, which was Pat actually performing in 1974, opening at the MGM. Actually, he opened for the Jackson 5.
That's so great.
I had a photo of them on the menu, but I didn't have, and I found a picture of the marquee. And it means a lot to preserve that. But again, preserve the stories. Just like with Sinatra, and we don't want people to forget.
Absolutely not. And what's so amazing is that you have the photos, because in those days, it's not like now where everybody has a phone and they're snapping pictures.
That's right.
A lot of things happen that we'll never see or never know about just because nobody thought to have a camera handy.
I love going back. I've always felt like I was born too late. And I think you and I have kind of talked about the fact that we're old souls and,
yes,
we missed a lot, right? So we can preserve it, but also embrace the future, like I said. And there are a lot of young artists who are embracing the music of your father and the Sinatra and Rat Pack era.
There's so many talented people out there, and one of the positive things about social media and the internet is that you can access everybody and see how many people are interested. My dad used to say, you'll see jazz is going to come back in style. And I'd say, okay, Dad, well, where did it really go? I don't understand. Mm-hmm. But now I get what he's saying, because I see this big influx of younger people that are just, right out of the gate, they're coming out as monster musicians and with incredible abilities because they can access everything. They can go online and access every Charlie Parker record or whoever, and we had to go buy the record at Tower Records or go to a library, and now everything is out. You can really find anything, and I think there's a lot of young people that have really taken advantage of that and really have started early, really learning and memorizing, and just, it's great.
This show is actually going to be airing next Sunday, which is the day before what would be your father's 100th birthday. And that's really important to me because I'm extremely sentimental and I think it's very important to you.
Sure.
That's going to be a day that everybody really hopefully will, acknowledge and remember important things. I know I'm going to do a post about your father on that day.
Yeah.
What else are we going to do? We're going to do a show, we can talk about it, but what is that day going to mean to you?
Well, a lot of things. I really thought he would make it to 100 because he was such a young, older person for so many years. And even in the height of his dementia, Alzheimer's, he was able to go out on stage and deliver a 90-minute show. And so it's not that I didn't see that there were changes, but he still seemed so full of life for so long. And I think that just celebrating him, to me it feels like he's still here.
Right, I understand what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, everyone will acknowledge it in their own way, and you will, and I will, and he was young at heart, and even Lady Gaga embraced him, and they did,
some great music together,
including a lot of Jimmy McHugh songs.
Absolutely.
From our friend Lee Newman, who is, of course, the grandson of Jimmy McHugh, who handles the catalog. But Lady Gaga loved him. Can you tell us a little bit about their relationship?
I think she really respected him. She took one of his sketches and had it tattooed on her arm of a trumpet. Yeah, it's still there, and she just really loved him. And when he needed a little extra care, she was right there, and she didn't make it look like, she made it look like it just a normal thing. And I remember that last show that they did and just being so thankful that she was there with him.
The birthday show?
The one at Radio City.
Okay, yeah.
Because that was a big stage, and at that point it had been COVID. He hadn't been doing it for a little while because everything shut down, and I was a little nervous, but of course, the moment that the music started, he was right there with it. But it was nice to know that she was there and nurturing, had so much care for him.
Right, she was nurturing to him on the stage.
Yes.
It was really sweet to see how they handled all that. We'll be right back with more Legends and Laughs. Hello, I'm Emily Connor Cooper for the Italian American Club of Southern Nevada. Since 1961, the Italian American Club has celebrated the food, desserts, music, entertainment, and friendships that have made it a Las Vegas favorite for generations. Supported through the years by legendary names like Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett, the tradition continues 5 nights a week with authentic Italian cuisine, live music, and world-class entertainment in the showroom. Best of all, they're open to the public and no membership is required. Discover a true Las Vegas best-kept secret, the Italian American Club. Come hungry, leave with a memory, and maybe a cannoli. You had mentioned in an interview, I believe, that your father and you both were fond of Billie Holiday, whose music was quite epic. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I share a birthday with her. Oh. And, I had listened a lot when I was younger to Mildred Bailey. I was listening to Mildred Bailey all the time. And when I got to Berklee, everybody said, "Oh, you sound like Billie Holiday." And I thought, wow, I do, because I had listened to some Billie Holiday, but I hadn't really done a deep dive like I had on Mildred Bailey. And then I started to dive in a little deeper listening to her, and I was like, oh, okay, Mildred Bailey was one of her influences. And I also listened a lot to my dad, and my dad's big influence was Billie Holiday, so a lot of his phrasing was similar to the way she phrased, and I think that just kind of rubbed off, and she had such an incredible way to sing something so sad, and there was still like a tinge of happiness in that sadness. I don't know how to explain it other than I think that she just embraced the bad with the good, and she was able to express it.
You have a pretty big body of work. Can you just tell us some more?
Sure. Well, right now I'm also, besides this record that Lee and Grant produced for me, I've been working on another record, which is a Brazilian record, mostly bossa novas, and I have been really lucky to be able to work with Marcus Valle, who's an incredible musician, singer in his own right, and we're doing a duet on that record of one of his songs, Summer Samba. So I'm really excited about it, and we've also taken some American songs that wouldn't typically be bossa novas and put like a Brazilian flavor on them as well, and I'm really excited about that.
That's great. And you do come to Vegas quite often. You've done several shows here, and you have one coming up. What shows have you done here? What are some of the venues you've worked here?
The Golden Nugget, many, many moons ago. I was working at the Golden Nugget with Vegas local, Vinny Falcone.
Oh, sure, Vinny. Yeah, of course.
And I've played the Crystal, was it the Crystal Room at Caesar's Palace before whatever their main showroom was, and
Vic's.
Yeah, Vic's. I've performed at Vic's, and the Composer's Room I've played, and soon I'll be at Myron's. I'm going to be at Myron's on November 28th, so I'm excited that's Thanksgiving weekend.
For Thanksgiving, that's a great room. That's a great venue.
I love it there.
That's very exciting. So, and you do have a bit of a history here, right?
Well, my mom lives here in Henderson.
Right.
Yeah.
She does. She's lived here for a long time.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And I've been coming here my whole life since I was a kid. You know, we would come through, and, you know, my dad in those days, I don't know how people do it now, but they would sign contracts with the casinos. So you'd be playing all the Caesar's palaces. So you'd play the one here and in Atlantic City,
right.
And you do that for a couple years. And so a lot of these places really did become like a second home to me in a way. And some of my very early experiences traveling with my dad were going to Harrah's casinos, and we would stay in Reno. Mr. Harrah would have this incredible house for us to stay in Reno, and then we'd go do shows in Tahoe and in Reno, and I'd get to see a lot of great acts, usually the night before my dad would perform, so I'd see Ray Charles or Stephen Eady or somebody like that, you know, usually the night before, and then George Benson or something, and then I get to see.
We were talking about the fact that it's the 60th anniversary of Caesar's Palace.
That's right.
So tell us about being at Caesar's Palace with your dad, because he did a lot of shows there.
Yeah, I opened up there and for many times with him, and I love Caesar's Palace. It's a great place, and I've performed at the one in Atlantic City as well. And
we were at the Italian American Club, right?
Last night.
Together, and that it's quite an epic place. It's very old school and old Vegas. It's a little bit of a time capsule in there, and everybody was really excited to see you. Your father was actually a founding member there.
That's right. He was one of the first founding members. Yeah. And he was so proud of his heritage.
Now I'm excited for your future, and that you are carrying out the legacy. And it's sad to say goodbye to the old era, but we do what we can to preserve it, and we move forward, because we have no choice, right?
Well, we don't have a choice. Change is sometimes hard, but there's so many good things that happen in life if you have your eyes open to it. And, you know, it's about holding on to those moments that come in and making the best of it.
Right.
I'm Nicholas Cole, your very own entertainer, Wednesday through Sunday for the Italian American Club of Southern Nevada. Since 1961, the Italian American Club has celebrated the food, desserts, music, entertainment, and friendships that have made it a Las Vegas favorite for generations. Supported through the years by legendary names like Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett, that tradition continues 5 nights a week with authentic Italian cuisine, live music, and world-class entertainment in our showroom. And best of all, we are open to the public. No membership needed, although always looking for new members. Come discover a true Las Vegas best-kept secret, the Italian American Club. Come hungry, leave with a memory, and maybe a cannoli.
It's the time of the day when the skies turn to gray and the willows are singing their song, where the sleepyheads meet with pillows and sheets. That's where my sweet darling belongs.
Welcome back to Legends and Laughs. We're here with Antonia Bennett today, and we actually have her daughter, Miss Maya, with us today. Hi, Maya.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us, too.
You're welcome.
So now, look at you. So I believe you have a little story about a casino. Is it a Vegas casino?
Well, yes. So, you know, back in those days when I was little, they had celebrities teaching people how to play all the games, blackjack and craps and stuff, on the TV screen in the hotel rooms. And so people like Sally Fields or whoever it was, I can't even remember, but I actually learned how to gamble as when I was younger than Maya.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wandered down into the casinos. In those days, they didn't stop you really. And I won a bunch of money, and then they had to drag me back upstairs by the ear practically to my dad, and they said, Mr. Bennett, we can't let your daughter keep this. She just, because he was performing there.
Of course. Yeah. No, that's fascinating. I've always wondered what it's like, because I've actually met a lot of children who grew up here, and it was definitely a different kind of life.
Vegas,
yes.
Yeah.
No, it's fascinating. We can talk more, and we'll have you back sometime. Thank you again so much for coming. We're out of time already, and thank you, Maya, for joining us, darling. You're a cutie. I see where you're going, so keep up the good work for sure. And thank you all for joining us too. We'll see you next time on Legends and Laughs.
Bye.